look at 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
There we go. We're live. We made it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome in to we're really
you were
live.
testing it.
I was testing it, but it didn't. I ran with it. I wanted to see if it would work. Shorten the intro for this Friday AMA here on Patriots Daily on the CLNS Media Network and presented by our good friends at Prize Picks. Today, as we do on Fridays, we're doing our AMA for members only. However, what we decided to do is open it up to the entire Patriots Daily community. However, only our members are going to be able to ask us the questions. So we're trying to get a little bit more buzz around this. We're also trying to build up our Discord channel as well, guys. So I'll plug this again in a little while, but step one is basically go to Discord. If you want to come and chat with us, we'll be doing live stage shows, which is like basically a X Spaces on the Discord chat. We're going to be in there. We're going to be talking Patriots. And then our members will be able to ask the questions on there. So once you join, and if you are a member, throw your Discord username in the chat. We will get you verified as a member. And then you will be able to actually come on stage with us, talk to myself and Tayler in the Patriots Daily chat, and ask some Patriots questions there as well. So using this next 20 minutes to a half hour to kind of plug that up, get everybody over to Discord, and then we're going to try some of that stuff out as well. Again, to kind of try and build out that Discord channel here for Patriots Press Pass and Patriots Daily. But in the meantime, what we're going to do is talk about the OTA that happened earlier this week. Myself and Tayler were down there on Wednesday, took in another open practice for the media. We did our takeaway podcast from Gillette a couple days ago, but we're just going to kind of put a bow on that. And then also look forward to Monday's practice. Since there's not going to be a show in between now and Monday's takeaways, we'll kind of do a quick preview and see what else we're going to be looking for from that third and final open OTA. We'll talk about the wide receiver room. We can touch on Stephon Diggs a little bit. I know we got our thoughts out on that already on the channel, but we kind of talk about the wide receiver room as a whole. And for what it's worth on Diggs, like I know people have speculated, are they going to cut him? Are they going to keep him? Is there going to be discipline? Like unless there's a Friday news dump over these next 50 minutes until 4 o'clock while we're on here, I don't see them doing anything at this point. If they were going to actually cut him, I feel like it would have already happened. That tells me they're going to kind of roll with it. We'll see what happens there. Obviously, there's no guarantees. So we'll touch on Diggs. We'll touch on wide receivers. We'll touch on Drake May's day. Taylor, I know our sort of headline on the show. Did something happen?
Oh my God, my cat.
Oh.
She was messing with my clothes, and I kind of tapped to get her attention, to get her away, and she turned and hit her face on the light.
Nice.
It went, oh my
Nice.
baby. I'm sorry. That was really
boy.
freaking me out.
I thought we got like some really big breaking news by the reaction you were looking down.
No,
at your
she got
phone.
hurt. Oh my God, she's such a freaking klutz. Oh my God,
poor cat.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I know that your takeaway / our sort of headline on Wednesday's OTA was that although Drake May didn't throw interceptions like he did the week prior, he did sort of, I don't want to say take a step back, but he wasn't great. Like there was kind of poor execution across the board from the offense. So I'm curious, high level quarterback position as well as the offense, kind of what you saw on Wednesday, but then also what you're looking for them to continue to improve as we head into Monday's final OTA session.
Always want to start these with the grain of salt that it is so early in the offseason. You know, there's not a whole lot of these storylines I think we're even going to look back on by the end of the summer and think that they were relevant. So like with Drake May, we've talked about it. There's been some inaccuracy that you really don't want to see. The last practice we were out, it was specifically from some tight pockets when he was throwing over the middle and they sailed on him. And it wasn't just that practice. We actually saw it the week before where he got intercepted by, I believe it was Del Pettis, where he had a throw that just went right over his receiver's head. And as a guy who thrives throwing over the middle, that was just something that I thought was kind of discouraging. But at the same time, you saw the aggressiveness. There were a lot of throws, especially on that first OTA that we saw, where he was putting deep balls where they needed to be, and his receivers just weren't really coming up with it. Then last practice, it felt more like when he tried to go downfield, there just wasn't really anything there. And we happen to see a ton of checkdowns on top of that, which you never know, right? Maybe he could have had something downfield and decided to check it down. And maybe there really wasn't anything. That could be a receiver thing. That could be a quarterback, maybe just not being aggressive enough thing. But given what we know about Drake, I don't think there's really any downfield opportunities that he's not going to try to take advantage of. So I think next week, I just want to see whether it's like a kind of a mix up in the personnel where it's receivers that he has more of that big playability with, or whatever it is. I just like to see a bit more explosiveness. Now, granted, this is a young offense. It's an offense that's still learning this new Josh McDaniel system, and they're going up against a veteran defense with a lot of guys that are already familiar with the system being put in place, or at least, as Robert Spillane said, like they've been in so many different spots where it's just kind of like more like a different language than it is being a player who doesn't have a ton of NFL experience, and it really seeming like a whole philosophical lesson when you're learning a new system. So I just want to see a little bit more explosiveness and a little bit more of Drake maybe being able to capitalize on what he does best. And of course, minimal turnovers, not the worst thing in the world. I said it with Jacoby last year, I remember, where there were some interceptions he had where you're like, I'm not that mad because he's really trying to put them in some tight windows. So yeah, just a bit more efficiency, fewer turnovers, and fewer kind of spray misses from these quarterbacks. The spray misses is the biggest thing. I just want to see it really on the receivers in places where they can get yards after catch on that more consistent basis.
No, for sure. I'm with you. I think, again, it's good to see. There were even a couple where, like last week, a couple of the turnovers were batted balls, quick mistake, not necessarily at him. They end up in the defense's hands. There were a couple opportunities for that to happen the other day as well. They just weren't actually turned over. They end up hitting the ground. So, I will say the offensive output from the two practices we've seen haven't been great. It's been shaky. And we heard that Thursday's practice last week after the 4 interception day was clinical and much better and firing on all cylinders. But I don't want to say it's kind of hard to believe that. I don't mean that. I believe that everybody who has heard things from that practice is telling the truth, but we still want to see it with our own eyes to be able to kind of report something else like that out and to be able to, I guess, know that they've continued to improve the offense from last season. But it is also super early. Like, again, we're talking here on May 30th, and I hate that we always feel like we have to caveat that, but we don't want this show to be the everything Patriots stink, everything's terrible show. Like, what it's happening, that it's not great, and there's room for improvement, but ultimately, we of course believe that they're hopefully going to hit their stride soon, but it's so early in camp. It's so early in the offseason program with a new head coach, a young quarterback, a new OC, that there's going to be some bumps in the road. Defense is mostly going to win these OTA sessions anyway because of the inability to extend the play from the pocket, the inability to run block and pass block and not just have a sack call, things like that. So not sounding the alarms just yet, but certainly we want to see a little bit more from the offense. And just on the offense too, I think like Diggs or not, we don't need to get into the video, the drama surrounding it, but like there's a lot of, I'm even looking at my own social media timeline from the other day, and like there seems to be a huge likening to Kayshon Boutte, and we've talked about Boutte so much. We did it on the show the other day. People seem to want him around here in Foxborough, at least the fans. And he had a much better season last year. He improved from I don't even think he had a catch his rookie year, maybe 1 or 2. And then last season he comes in and he knew his stat line off the top of his head when we spoke to him: 589 yards and 3 touchdowns. But his goal, he said it was good to make plays last year, but the goal is to always improve year over year. So they're giving him the opportunity to sort of earn that outside receiver role. I think that right now, for what's in the room with Diggs not being here, with Matt Collins on the field, I feel like he's the only real answer there right now. But his standing in the wide receiver room and the rest of the pass catchers, your Jalen Polks is off to the side. Javon Baker, who we can talk a little bit about that, even though we did the other day, where he catches a deep pass. First of all, it looks like a push off, but then he's celebrating and not hustling back to the huddle. It's like he's one of the players where new regime, new era, you want to see these guys step up and put away the and there's a drop, Javon. Nice.
And it wasn't a good break either. That was like 5 steps.
Yeah, but here's Kyle Williams, the savior. Nice catch, nice stab. There we go. But so yeah, I want to get your thoughts just on the wide receiver room overall, not only from what we saw, but also heading into next week. Before we do that, I know that we do have some more people in the channel here, so I just want to remind everyone what today's show is going to be. First of all, if you are a Patriots Press Pass member, throw some questions into the chat right here. We will answer them at the end of the show. It's going to be a quicker 20-25-minute show here because we're going to then hop over to our Discord server. We're going to try and build out that, and that's going to sort of be a Friday thing here on the channel, end of the week thing here on the channel as well. So head over to Discord. You go to clnsmedia.com/Discord and join over there. Once you're in, and if you are a Patriots Press Pass member, drop your name in this chat, your Discord name in this chat. We will get you verified. And then on today's show, you can hop on stage and actually talk with Tayler and I and ask questions there. Now, anybody is welcome on the Discord channel, just like everybody is welcome in this show. We are prioritizing members for the questions asking both on this podcast as well as on stage in Discord. So trying to try something new here. We can also just chat on Discord at any time, which is pretty cool. We can kind of just have an ongoing Patriots conversation. I've jumped in there a little bit the last couple weeks. Tayler has as well. So we're going to try and build something else up there new, to try and get this Patriots community continuing to grow. So just wanted to plug that once again. So again, hop on Discord. If you want to join us for another chat after this, we're going to hop on there after this. But for now, Tayler, we'll keep punching around OTA topics before we get into some questions. So as I said, wide receiver room, a little bit shaky, but what do you want to see from them moving forward? And how do you think, the offseason program from what we've seen has been with the pass catchers?
I want to see somebody take that X position and run with it. And somebody asked in the comments, like, when is it not too early? Which is a fair question. I say not too early is when they have pads on. Like when they're playing as close to football as you can actually get on the practice field. That is when my observations will become a little bit more critical. Now, like I mentioned earlier on in OTAs, they're not insignificant. Like if you carry this momentum from the spring over into the summer, that's going to decide maybe the depth chart. Where like if Kyle Williams is gangbusters in the next practice, or if he's had more days when they go over this whole period than a Kayshon Boutte, that's where those things matter. Because I think right now you're really just trying to earn opportunities. So when you're like Drake May and you're starting, it's if he was throwing like only interceptions and it felt like his head was spinning, that would be a red flag, right? Because this is a point where you're just going over the basics. And there's a difference between, okay, we're kind of just struggling with some of the concepts, but we're making mistakes and learning, versus like it's been, 2 weeks and it feels like Drake doesn't really know where he's looking and his eyes are all over and he's holding onto the ball. That hasn't really been it. It feels like he's going through his reads comfortably, more comfortably than I would say he was last year. It's just, I think maybe there's still some things that need to work out when it comes to the feet connecting with the eyes and all that kind of stuff, just in a new type of offense. So going back to the wide receiver specifically, though, I want to see something more from Kayshon Boutte. That's what I've been saying. Everybody is hyping him up, and it was cool to hear his comments as well. It really does feel like he has a different mentality and is trying to attack this year even more aggressively than he attacked last year. And as I've said, I'm not rooting against the guy. Hopefully that manifests on the field, but it hasn't so far. Like, it's really just the stab, and people see the practice stuff where he's making plays on air. That stuff doesn't matter. It matters just as much as Jalen Polk's drop when they're going through the bags. Like,
100%.
I don't really care what happens when you're playing on air. And even when they go in drills, like Mike Vrabel mentioned, it's a passing camp. They can't play through receivers, the defensive back. So, like, that's why I don't really talk about defense also. One, it's kind of hard to see how exactly things are happening because they're reacting. But also, like, what? If somebody catches a ball on Christian Gonzalez, he can't really do anything about it unless they're throwing these right on the guy's hips. So there are certain ways that I think guys can establish themselves, but we haven't seen it with Kayshon. We've seen the flashes from Javon. We've seen the flashes from Kyle Williams, but Javon has just been so inconsistent, and I just don't see much improvement from him. He kind of looks like the exact same player we saw last year in terms of it looks good, but like in every win, it feels like there's something that you'd like him to change, or there's just some glaring mistakes, like the fact that Mike Vrabel had to tell him to get back into the huddle and tell him multiple times, talk to him after practice, which I'm not saying that alone is bad, because that could be a learning moment. Maybe he takes that with him. But I'm not putting any money on Javon Baker making this roster, as someone who loved him this time last year and was really hoping that he would blossom into that starting X receiver. So I think it's going to be Kyle Williams, but I'd also like for them not having to rely on this rookie. Now, if Collins comes back and he factors in, that changes things a little bit. But like the Z spot, I think is fine. You've got Kendrick Bourne, Stephon Diggs will be back. You have plenty of guys that could slide into that role. Demario Douglas pretty much has the slot locked down. Maybe Efton Chisholm factors in the slot Z position at some point. But really, I just want Drake may have an ISO receiver who he feels comfortable with, and when he has those matchups, he wants to exploit them versus feeling like if it's not a curl, he just can't really trust his guys downfield. I don't think that's the case because he trusts Javon. Clearly, he still does. But I just want to see them consistently pay it off without as many of those like kind of moments from like a Javon or just stretches of not doing anything like we see from Kayshawn.
Yeah. A couple more OTA topics I do want to throw around, but first what we'll do is take a quick break here. I want to show you guys a preview of Taylor's Joshua Farmer. Alex Barth did that. Alex Barth did that the other day at practice where we're trying to talk about Joshua Farmer. He mentions Jeremiah Farms. J name, last name Farm. It's confusing. However, Joshua Farmer, rookie number 92, stood out at practice the other day. Taylor did a full breakdown on Farmer, so here's a quick preview of that for an exclusive look at what some of our members get a look at here on the Patriots Press Pass channel.
Like the typical Patriots defensive tackle, Farmer's a tough one-on-one assignment against the run. He's a stout 6'3", 305 pounds, and he has the strength to shock and manhandle blockers. Here, Florida State calls an exotic blitz from a wide front with a linebacker mugged up over the center. Farmer, who lines up outside the right guard, occupies his side of the line while a defender loops in behind him to try to get after the passer. Farmer gets doubled with no rusher off his edge, and though he doesn't make contact with his initial chop, he manages to dip under the guard's punch and into the gap. Farmer then pushes off the right tackle for a momentum boost and keeps fighting to put the pocket in the passer's lap. In another impressive display of effort, Farmer lines up outside the right guard with protection sliding away from him. Farmer recovers from a missed double swipe by ripping through the guard's punch, but comes dangerously close to getting pinned to the center. Farmer gets low to spin out of a second block attempt, loops to the edge as the quarterback tries to scramble, and helps influence a throwaway. He may never be Christian Barmore or Milton Williams, but Farmer's quick first step, violent play style, and non-stop effort make him a potential 3-down player down the road. Here, Farmer ends up on an island while head up over the right guard. He jolts his blocker with a two-hand punch to the chest, uses his leverage advantage to pull the guard towards him, and shakes free with a violent arm over, forcing an incompletion and getting a hit on the quarterback. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to become members of Patriots Press Pass here on YouTube for more breakdowns just like this, as well as a ton of other great bonus content.
So much great bonus content here on the channel. So Taylor, thank you for putting those together. That is just a sneak peek, but if you want to join Patriots Press Pass as a member, you can do so right here on YouTube. 3 tiers, rookie, all-pro, and what are they? Rookie, all-pro, and GOAT status here on the channel. There's different layers to it. You get some different things. We are getting the Discord channel going here with myself and Taylor, so we're going to be getting through that and starting that up today. So again, I'm going to keep plugging it as more people trickle in, but we're going to move over from this podcast today right into Discord. So head over there, clnsmedia.com/Discord. And if you are a member of the channel, drop your name in the YouTube chat. We will get you set up there so that you can come on stage and ask myself and Taylor questions in the Patriots Daily Chat today. That's going to happen right after this. So we'll answer some questions that are here in the chat, but then we'll move it over to Discord as well. Going to build up that community. We'll be chatting over there all the time over text, and then we'll also do some of these fun Friday stage shows as well. So make sure you check that out, clnsmedia.com/Discord. All right, so we mentioned Farmer a little bit, Taylor. I know he had a good day. There were two plays in a row where he beat Wes Schweitzer pretty good, got into the backfield and disrupted the pocket. And then the very next play, swatted a pass from Joshua Dobbs. I know you said it, and I agree with you that it's not easy to keep a ton of eyes on defense and not much to glean in OTAs because, again, it's a passing camp and there's a lot of whistles and staying on your feet, etc. But what did you make of Farmer's performance, especially after us not seeing him but all the week before because he was out? And the rest of the defense, any sort of takeaways you saw from there? I know there was a little bit some different movement at the cornerback position, but we'll kind of focus on Farmer to start. Where are you on the defense?
Not a ton on Farmer. I mean, I noticed he had he batted a pass on, I think it was his first rep of team drills, and it looked like he got a pressure as well. And showing up as a rookie, and it wasn't his first practice, it was the first practice that we got to see.
Right.
That was still nice to see because, maybe a Braden Swinson, for instance, he hasn't gotten as many reps as high up on the depth chart as Joshua Farmer. obviously we can't say where, but it was just nice to see him make an impact. On the defensive line, I would say my biggest takeaway really was that Harold Landry may not be the every down presence I thought he was going to be, because his contract would lead you to believe that they don't really want him to leave the field. But it seems like he really could be closer to the Anthony Jennings mold, where he plays a lot on early downs. When they really want a pass rush, maybe they replace him with, a K'Lavon Chaisson, maybe down the road of Braden Swinson, somebody like that. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And the fact that Keon White is not spending any time on the inside. I don't think I've seen him line up on the inside once, which is also kind of nice because now he can focus completely on one thing and improve as an edge player, where I know last year he was focused on that, but it's still hard as a second-year guy who's lining up in different spots. I'll say at linebacker, the spot next to Robert Spillane seems like it's still TBD. We saw Jelani Tavai there one day. And to be fair, Tavai didn't really participate. I don't think he participated in the last practice we saw. So that may be why Christian Ellis was kind of the main guy next to Robert Spillane in that practice. We'll get more context as we go throughout the spring and potentially the summer, but it did seem like that spot at weak side linebacker is still undecided. And then I thought it was interesting, slot defender. Alex Austin is still factoring in there, which I like because I don't love the idea of Marcus Jones being locked into the slot. Now, if you're going up against other smaller receivers, like you're going up against the Dolphins and Malik Washington or something like that, I'm cool with it because I think Marcus Jones can completely eliminate guys who are about his size with his kind of frenetic speed and agility and explosiveness overall. But if he's going up against a slot receiver who's more like a Jacoby Myers, I hate that matchup. He's going to be all over him, but he's not really going to be able to affect the catch point if the quarterback provides a pass that he can't get his hands on. So Alex Austin, being a guy who's 6 feet tall, has a little bit better reach. And now it'll be a second year having some experience in the slot, at least at this phase in the season, off season. I think that's very interesting. And the safety spot still seems like it's a bit up in the air. We saw Jabril Peppers mixing in alongside Jalen Hawkins. But really how those young players enter the mix, Marte Mapu looking like he may be more of a linebacker in this regime, which people have said it, and I've been against it because I cannot stand watching Marte Mapu try to take on blocks and make tackles near the line of scrimmage. If he improves, awesome. I just don't know if that's going to happen. But yeah, so the slot position, safety and linebacker spots where one guy seems locked in and Peppers, and then Spillane other side, probably going to be Duggar at safety, but we still don't obviously 100% know. And Craig Woodson has looked pretty good at safety. He's the kind of guy who always seems like he's in the right place. So those are really, I would say, my takeaways at each level. Safety spots, just how those young guys emerge, the spot next to Robert Spillane, and then the edge spot that's really not Keon White and how really they rotate, because it seems like Keon White's going to have a big role in this defense.
I liked Pepper's comment on Craig Woodson as well, saying he likes him. He's smart, savvy, doing a good job soaking up what the coaches want him to do. I feel like Craig Woodson is sort of coming into his own here really quickly. I feel like he's going to be an interesting part of that safety room. But yeah, I'm with you on Mapu. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here on this lovely Friday, but don't mind me because we're hopping onto Discord, which is going to be even less formal than this Friday Patriots show here. But we do have a couple member questions in the chat, so I want to get to those. Before we do that, a quick one last thought on the offense, and I know that we can't give too much information per team rules, but Tyrese Robinson, a second-year guard, I believe, or third-year guard. They picked him up off of fourth. They got him off of waivers from the Minnesota Vikings last season, getting some quality run on the offensive side of the football. I know that you were tweeting out a couple film breakdowns of Tyrese Robinson. So wanted to just kind of pick your brain on what you've seen from him. What potential impact you think he could have on this offense, if you think he's going to get a real shot at winning a job along the front five, and just that guard spot without giving too much detail. Essentially what you saw from Robinson and what you think he can bring.
So I don't think Robinson is someone who should be starting for sure. He was a right tackle in college, kicked inside. He has experience at both guard spots. So the fact that he has played right tackle and never in the NFL, but he has experience at both guard spots. So there's some versatility there you like to see. I'll say I was surprised. I think he moves pretty well. He's got really strong hands, and when he locks onto guys, they don't really get away from him. But if you look at his RAS, he's not very athletic. He's not a very big guy. And he's kind of stiff and very upright. So against like the Bills backups, he looked fine, right? He's not giving up really any pressure. Looks solid as a run blocker. He can be used in gap schemes because he's really physical, but he's also athletic enough to be functional in outside zone. And I don't want to say he's not athletic, but you could see how if he went up against a good defensive line, like he'd probably get rocked. And he just hasn't had a lot of experience doing that. When you've been in the NFL for 4 years and you haven't really started before, there's probably a reason for that. So I didn't want to get anybody's hopes up or anything, but he was definitely a better player than I expected and someone who I really hadn't paid much attention to because I'm not going to lie to you. I think I studied that one game for like a handful of players, the finale. And then I was I'm not really diving into this tape.
Sure.
I was gassed at that point, but he's a solid backup option. But I really think, considering the fact that Layden Robinson has only been down in the depth chart and he hasn't seemed like he's really competing for the spot. And that's been very disappointing because I think he has the most upside there. So really, I think the best case scenario is either you start the year with Wes Schweitzer, just so Will Campbell has somebody next to him who has experience and that kind of at least veteran IQ. Jared Wilson's a factor. If Garrett Bradbury is still at center and they feel like, all right, maybe Cole Stranger, no one has really secured this spot. I could see Jared Wilson sliding in there. That's his original position before he was at Georgia. And then Cole Strange. I mean, if you have Will Campbell and Cole Strange, obviously Cole's had injuries. There's no way of knowing if he's as athletic as he was when he came out of college necessarily. Some guys, I will say, though, you rehab, sometimes they actually get stronger. Now, I'm not saying that's Cole's situation because he had a pretty traumatic bone injury. But it's at least the fact that he is someone who has decent amount of starting experience, not relative to his age, but he has some. He is super athletic next to Will Campbell. That'd probably give you one of the more athletic left sides in the NFL. But obviously, there's a ton of reasons to be cautious about Cole Strange. There's the injury history. There's the size. And while he's comparable to like a Joe Thuney and a Ted Karras in terms of raw size, he got injured because Chris Jones put him on skates and he got his leg rolled up. So like, it's not insignificant. And the fact that despite the fact that he's been in the NFL for so long, he hasn't played a ton. And I think that shows when he has to pick up line games and things like that. So I got really nothing in terms of predictions for that spot. I think it's going to be pretty wide open going into the summer as well. But at least they have like 4 or 5 options they could at least throw at the wall, even if I only think 3 of them would be ideal start, or not ideal, but like viable starters.
Viable. Sure. All right. Well, there's our OTA thoughts from this week's practice. Tayler, thanks for pulling the weight there as I kind of maneuver us through this Friday show here with a Discord chat coming up in a few moments. But I do want to get to some AMA member questions here really quick. We'll just kind of flash through these before we move over to Discord, because then these same members who are asking questions here can also hop on stage and talk with us via audio on the members chat. So on Discord. So I know that Nelson is asking, it's crazy how everyone is so ready to get rid of Baker and Polk after year one, even when the year before Booty didn't get on the field either. So what's the difference? Let's dive into this a little bit, but we can also kick this question around when we hop on Discord too. But what, in your mind, what is the difference between the jump that Booty made compared to the jump that Baker and Polk could make this year?
Baker and Polk haven't made a jump. That's like the biggest thing, is Kayshon Boutte had to really change the way that he went about his whole process. And that's not something you can just expect guys to do. Now, Jalen Polk's a little bit different because I feel like he was consistent until he really lost confidence. Whereas with Javon Baker, there was a point where like early to midsummer, we were saying like, he's starting to kind of even out a little bit and fell off. And it wasn't surprising when he did struggle. With Polk, it kind of came out of nowhere because he was one of the guys that started like show flashes. And even and it wasn't just local. I hate the revisionist history with Jalen Polk because people outside of this market were saying that he would be better once Drake got in the lineup because he was creating separation when they were using him in his ideal role as more of a Z slot type and not as that isolated, man beater, because that's not really what he is if you're using him to his best ability. So I think Polk has shown it, and that's a guy where I don't really understand why. That's not fair. I understand why people are giving up because he was historically bad, and if you don't really want to look into it, like it makes sense not to really gamble on him doing anything better. But I feel like he became the opposite of who he was in college, which gives me a little bit more confidence. Whereas Javon Baker lived up to pretty much every concern that people had about him pre-draft. And that's, I think, more where it's understandable. Like, Kayshon Boutte did as well. But again, that's not the expectation. Where even coaches, like Alex Van Pelt was saying that Kayshon Boutte was not a factor early on in the summer until he changed his ways. And Javon Baker has not shown that yet. Well, again, it's still spring. Maybe he comes with a different attitude in the summer. But, like, he is getting reprimanded by coaches. He's having reps on the field that look like he doesn't belong in the NFL. Sprinkled in, of course, between the flashes. But still, it's like, Efton Chisholm is a guy where I can't really remember a rep where Efton Chisholm looked like he did not belong in the NFL, which is why I'm kind of hyping him because he catches the ball well, he separates, he's efficient and all that, versus a Javon Baker where you're like, dude, this is the second year and it still looks like you have a long way to go before you're even somebody that they can trust. So Jalen Polk, I get it, even though I disagree. Javon Baker, he has shown us nothing to think that he's going to make the roster. Not nothing. He's shown the flashes, but with the inconsistency, if they keep 6 guys, I think you can sneak him onto the practice squad because I don't think anybody's real. People could try to take a chance on him if, like, there's a coach who has experience with him and he's like Jack Jones, where Antonio Pierce knew him. He's like, I can get the best out of this guy. Maybe in that scenario, but it's again, as someone who really was excited about Javon Baker, he's not done nearly enough to make me confident that he can, become a guy who factors in this year.
The Jalen Polk hype last training camp was not manufactured. It wasn't a fluke. Like, he was doing good things on the field in training camp against the Patriots starting defense when he was playing on their starting offense. Like, that happened. I was looking back. Someone quote tweeted one of my training camp tweets at Polk where I was like, he looks like the best wide receiver on the field. That was real. At one point during training camp, not mini camp, and he looked decent at the start, but during training camp, he looked like a viable NFL player, and he did. He took the nosedive that we all saw. I'm not giving up on him yet. Baker's a different story. I don't want to say I'm worried about Polk. I think him not being on the field yet is a cautionary tale, I guess, but I also know that guys work through injuries. It's early. It's OTAs. It's voluntary. Like, let's pump the brakes on Jalen Polk there, but I'm excited on him. I think he can still make a jump, kind of like Kayshon Boutte did. Now, there's more to that because he was a second-round pick versus Boutte being a 5th or 6th-round pick like he was, but I'm definitely not giving up on him. I think Javon Baker is a little bit of a different story, and we can poke that around a little bit more in Discord, just like we will with this question here. How is Cam Riley looking UDFA? Nelson, I'm going to hold that thought.
No, you don't have to hold it because I have no answer. I don't know. I've not been watching Cam. Because usually when those guys are up, like, one, they'll split onto fields, like the 2 different fields, or it'll just be the third team. And honestly, by the third team, like, I'm not really watching Cam Riley. But for you, Nelly, I will try to keep an eye out next time we're out there. I just don't want to start it with a pat answer. So
100%. And as the jumping off point, I was going to say we'll touch on all the UDFAs when we hop over to Discord right now, because we also have 2 new members here on the channel. Courtney, who is a proud Patriots Daily fan, now is officially a member. So you can come in and ask us questions on Discord right now. Riley Turner is up as well. Call Me Explosion is his Discord name, so go check that out. Come hang out with us. Come ask us questions on stage. We're going to hop over there right now. CLNSmedia.com/Discord. Join the chat. It's going to be, I was just fooling around on the app right now. It's going to be the Patriots Daily Discord chat. So hop in there, and our members can hop on stage, chat with us, and ask us questions. So we're going to move on from here. We're going to hop over to the Discord channel and talk for another 20 minutes or so there before we wrap it up into the weekend. So on that note, thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully you all come hang out on Discord, even if you're not members, because I'll throw this out there. Someone asked, where the heck is it? Someone asked, is Discord members only? So no, Discord is for everyone. Come over to Discord, hang out on our Patriots CLNS Media community. Our members are going to be the ones that can ask us the questions. So should be some fun. We're going to try that out on top of all of our coverage too. So thanks for coming over. Thanks for joining us. And on that note, happy Friday. We hope to see you guys on Discord. If not, we'll see you on Monday for our Patriots OTA recap. The final OTA practice is on Monday. We will be down in Foxboro. So keep an eye out there here on Patriots Press Pass. Until next time, come over to Discord. If you're not going to be there, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we will see you very soon. Peace out, everyone.